Good Erev Shabbat, everyone. We are sponsored this month by Marsha Lee Weinblatt, Lee Nishmat Marsha's beloved sister, Jerry Turkel, Gittel Bat Chaim Yisachar. Lashon was eighth yahrtzeit is on Sunday. Sponsored this month by Julian Richard Ehrlich, Lee Nishmat Richard's mother, Rachel Miriam Bat Yona, Allah Shalom, Min HaShamayim Tinuchamu. Sponsored by Gilead Stern as a Schut Refuah Shlema for Nisan Halevi Ben Tova, Shem Yishmereu Chazkeyu. Sponsored by Chayin Yoful, Linishmat, their beloved son Hillel, Olashon Ben Yo Yaakov Sheyichya, and this week by Eric and Selavi, Linishmat Sel's father Yitzchak Meir Ben David Halevi, Olav Hashalom. Today is also the 138th yahrzeit of Rav Shamshon Hirsch, the great leader of German Jewry in 19th century, died 1888. And just note parenthetically that his name was Shamshon, not Shimshon, as so many people call him. And I learned this the hard way. I was giving a speech over 40 years ago, and I quoted Rav Hirsch and called him Shimshon. And an elderly gentleman came up to me afterwards and said in English with a German accent, his name was Shamshon, not Shimshon. I said, "How do you know?" He said, "Because my name is Shamshon Breuer. I was named for him. I'm his grandson." So he would know. And he said Rav Hirsch was even called to the Torah, Shamshon ben Raphael Hirsch. Shimshon was never his name. In any event, it's a brilliant commentary on Chumash. It's a classic because what he writes is not just relevant to his day, but for all days. And he was able to take the Torah and relate it to our society and explain also, sometimes explicitly, sometimes implicitly, many of the issues of the time. So Persian Parshat Va'era takes up something that seems very strange when we're learning the Torah, even hearing it read in shul. At the beginning of the Sedra, God charges Moshe and Aaron with a mission, and then before they embark on that mission, the Torah inserts this genealogy. Eile Rashi Veit Avotam. These are the heads of your father's houses. Ruvain, Shimon, and then these are Levi, Gershon, Kahat, Merari, and the children of Gershon, the children of Kahat, Amram and others, Merari, and then Amram married Yocheved, and they had Moshe, then Aaron and Moshe, and then the children of Yitzhar and Uziel, and Aaron got married. What is all this doing here? And then that particular paragraph ends, Who Aaron and Moshe? This is Aaron and Moshe, that God said, take the Jews out of Egypt. These are the ones who will speak to Paro. Who Moshe Aaron? This is Moshe and Aaron. And we didn't know them before? We did know them before. We introduced them last week. So what's added here? And Rav Hirsch asks these questions, and he says two things that are so on point. Firstly, here, these are Moshe and Aaron. The first thing we have to understand is that until now, it didn't matter that the Torah didn't elaborate on their genealogy because they were not successful. But now that they were going on their mission to Paro with miracles and wonders and plagues, and they would be successful, now the Torah wanted to reinforce for us, I quote, so that for all time, their absolutely human origin and the absolutely ordinary human nature of their beings should be firmly established. We shouldn't make the error in thinking that Moshe was a divine figure. And our first goes on that so many times in history, people who are great benefactors to their nation, they're invested with godlike qualities. And he says, we know well enough how in later times, a Jew whose genealogical table was not available, and because it was not available, and because he brought the world a few sparks of light, borrowed from the man Moses, became to be considered by nations as begotten of God, and to doubt his divinity became a capital crime. Well, one thing that is implicit here, Rav Hirsch's commentary, is an open refutation of the Bible critics whose ideas he thought were risible, because they say, well, why is this here? Well, the editor had something he had to fit in, and he just stuck it in. No, you see why it's put in. So we should make the mistake of thinking that Moshe is a god, that Moshe is divine. No, he's not. Whatever he did, we'll see in a moment, he was special, but he was human. an ordinary human being. That being said, once we establish he's an ordinary human being, do not make the opposite mistake into thinking he's like everybody else. He's not like everybody else, nor is Aaron. You shouldn't think that anybody could just be a Navi. You shouldn't think that a man could be known as a complete idiot today and tomorrow proclaim the word of God, as if the Spirit of God can rest on an ignorant, uneducated person. No, it's not so. They were just men, but they were special men. They were unique men. They were the greatest of men. And not only that, here the Torah underscores his parentage, Amram Yocheved, which was not done in last week's Sedra, and refers to something so beautiful that at the when Leah had her children, so you see, the first two sons did not really endear her to Yaakov, and they were named for her suffering. Reuven, God saw my pain. Shimon, God heard my anguish, until Levi was born. Levi, progenitor of Moshe. When Levi was born, then she said, oh, now my husband will be attached to me. Now I'll feel connected. It's with the birth of Levi that Leah attained the happy state of bliss which characterizes true Jewish married life. And Rav Hirsch said it's quite probable the thoughts and feelings with which a mother bears her child under her heart are not without influence on the mental nature of the future man. You see where Moshe came from. An exalted house, a house of human beings, but an exalted house chosen by God in order to be Moshiach Shel Yisrael, possessive of all the qualities that we need, a Gibor, a Chacham, an Oshir, all that the great Moshe Rabbeinu, Yehi Zichro Baruch, forever. Shabbat Shalom.